Hey guys, so today we're going to discuss perfumes again. I have a review on two of the fragrances that are in my current fragrant rotation, and I just want to discuss them in a little bit more detail. I love both of these very, very much, and I absolutely have to talk to you about them because they are such staples in my collection and had been for years. The first one since it came out almost. The first one since the late 90s, and the second one since maybe 5 years ago. I've started using it quite regularly. I have to say that this time around I was really in the mood for something quite feminine. Previously I went for maybe sweeter scents, and this time I really wanted something really feminine, really soft, really playful, and just lovely. It comes and goes, right? So the first perfume we're going to discuss is Trésor by Lancome. This fragrance for me is a fragrance I come back to all the time. This is only my second bottle of it. I've used the first one for some years. It had never turned. I think I've had it for maybe 6 or 7 years in total. Then I took a break from it, and now I have it again in a bigger version. I got the maximum, the 100 mils over here. I have to say about the packaging of the bottle, I don't really love it. It's a little bit clunky for me, but at the same time, I really don't hate it either. So for me, this is a toss-up. But the fragrance itself is a true gem in the perfumery of the 90s, and it is a very good reflection of what fragrances in the 90s were like. There were a lot of fruity fragrances that either went teeny bopper or quite sophisticated. And this is an example of reasonably sophisticated but not serious fragrance. It still is a very good seller. When it came out, it was the best seller. It was all over the world. The craze was real, and now it is died down a little bit, and this style of fragrance is not the most popular at the moment, yet I tend to gravitate towards these kinds of fragrances. So Lancome Trésor, which translates to treasure obviously, is something that I could place if I just sniffed it and they asked me, some imaginary person asked me, which fragrance house does this perfume belong to? I would say Burberry. Because what Burberry makes is really, really wearable basic fragrances that are the kind of perfume that if you have one perfume to go everywhere with you, that's the fragrance you would get. And I think this is that kind of a scent. So this is not particularly business oriented. This is not particularly pulling yourself together kind of scent, and this is not particularly romantic. It just is a kind of fragrance that could take you anywhere you need to go. It's heavily based on peach, and this peach is quite sweet, maybe a little bit overripe, a little bit bruised, yet very, very velvety. You can smell the velvety texture, and the vanilla and the amber really support this ripened peach in my imagination. They not quite are going towards the jam sort of creation where you have the super sweet sticky scent. This doesn't go there. This remains on the fruity side, not on the super sweet side. There's a dustiness to it that peach seems to usually have. There are listed some florals in here, including some purple florals, I believe, but not... Florals are listed, but I don't think they're dominant here. I don't think they are going to describe what the fragrance feels like. They're there for support, really, and I don't really need to talk about them because they're not main players in this particular perfume. And this creation really reminds me of a person. Usually a fragrance will remind me either of a place, time, so a picture of an environment, or it'll remind me of or make me think of a person who would wear this sort of fragrance. This fragrance really goes that way. The person who would wear it is young or young at heart, quite playful, enjoys non-provocative, good-natured humor and fun. Is very appropriate and fits into any situation very, very well. So it's an extrovert, and quite an adaptable sort of person, which reflects, of course, the quality of the fragrance that allows it to blend in into any situation seamlessly. From work to date night, it will work. It's not particularly quotable for either of these situations, but it's just so universal that it can work in either of those settings. There's a certain softness and girliness to it. There is texturality to the scent. In terms of this velvetiness, slight dustiness, and maybe a very, very slight vintage flair, but it's really minimal. Kind of in the spirit of Burberry Woman, I would say. These fragrances are cousins. They are talking about the same thing, but they're not identical or super, super similar, except for the fact that they both have vanilla, amber, and lots of peach, but the peach has different qualities to me in those two fragrances. However, parallels can be drawn between them. That's probably why I love both of them. And Trésor is really a universal and just easy pick. I think if you like fruit and if you like slightly sweet fruit, you should really check this one out because it's composed so beautifully. The longevity, the sillage, everything is pretty average. It lasts on skin pretty well. I have to say though, it has this, when it starts wearing off, at first it's really peach, but once it starts wearing off, it becomes more interesting. It has a lot of different over and undertones once the very powerful peach is sort of taken down a notch in a couple of hours, and then a slight soapiness comes out, which really creates this sense of cleanliness. What it does is it really quotes a really nice quality Solange shampoo under all this fruity vanillic goodness. So you really end up with this clean yet womanly scent. It's not really going the shampoo soap territory, but there is something there that talks about or mentions it slightly, which also makes it, of course, extremely, extremely wearable simply because it smells kind of like freshness, but not just like freshness. It's just one of the faces of this fragrance. It's one of the facets. And it does change throughout time. It's got a really beautiful progression. I enjoy every single stage of this fragrance, anywhere from the sort of bruised peach, Georgia peaches, and blushed cheeks and a weaved basket sort of stage, and then going on to the expensive shampoo plus some peach and dustiness and a little bit of a sophisticated chic amber that really builds the perfume up, and then going on into lighter, fresh, and slightly more powdery quality. So quite a chameleon, that one, and I think that's probably why a lot of people really like it, because it's very difficult to get tired of it, because it doesn't stay the same all the time. It really has a life on your skin. It tells you a story. Then the next one is my forever love, one of probably my very, very top fragrances, and this one is Chanel Allure. I tend to really heavily gravitate towards Chanel fragrances. I don't love all of them, but I actually really, really enjoy the Perfume house. I think the continuity of how they do business and how they make their launches happen, and the fact that they don't rush into mass producing tons of scents all the time. They take their time with their formulations. Their formulations are pretty impeccable and on point. They're made in a very, very structured and proper fashion. These are proper perfumes, and they tend to have in mind this quite a sophisticated woman, quite a lady, and I love that about them. And this is pretty much almost always how I would like to come across to other people, ideally. Not that it happens all the time, but ideally that's what I would like to project into this world. I would like to be a lady eventually at some point in my life. And Chanel fragrances really put me in that mind frame, because they are constructed in a way that your head just goes there, and you sit a little bit straighter, and you speak a little bit slower, and perhaps you, maybe sort out some of your thoughts before you open your mouth to speak. So this is the kind of effect that Chanel fragrances in general have on me. Allure is on the side of femininity, loveliness, softness. It's not so much a flirty fragrance for me as it is cozy and just extremely, extremely feminine. I love this scent because it makes me think of a woman who would be a really perfect, well-situated mother and a wife. It's really this very soft, very feminine, very motherly, in a way, cozy fragrance. It wraps around you as an Angora shawl. It's this extreme softness, this really lovely, calm demeanor. It is good self-control in a way, but to this lady that I imagine in my head when I smell, everything comes easily because she doesn't struggle in life. She has so much inner confidence that she goes for things and they just happen for her. She's not the one to claw her way through life. She's not the one to, know how to niche for herself and fight for her existence and fight to be successful. This is a woman who's kind of like born into this life of just calm self-assuredness and lovely sense of well-being. Just everything is well with this person somehow. How she looks, she's probably medium built. She wears cashmere, light colored cashmere, maybe in that Angora shawl that keeps popping into my head when I'm talking about this one. She has maybe a pleated skirt. She definitely has Chanel pumps on, the slingback ones, with the dark toe. And she certainly has a classic Chanel flap on her. This is the kind of person, just put together in an effortless, chic, yet not in your face kind of way. She doesn't need to be in your face. She just knows herself and she's confident in who she is, and she doesn't need to try. She doesn't need to try. She's just lovely how she is. She's perfect how she is. And I have to say, this perfume works for many different occasions, perhaps not in the hot of summer. I would say that it's a little bit too vanillic and dense for that. There is a certain density. There's a certain density to this perfume. There's a certain substantiality, certain thickness that comes with it. But for fall, for winter, and for spring, perhaps not very hot spring, I think this is such a beautiful find. To me, this is a good day perfume because when I apply it in the morning, it lasts throughout the day. It does change somewhat, but it really retains its personality as well. It lasts super well, projects about a foot, which is perfect for me. I don't love fragrances that are super, super loud, but it lasts well and projects notably, but only to people who are going to be closer to you, which is what I look for in a fragrance. And just, it makes me feel like I'm gonna have a good day, and usually I do. Just, it frames everything in a way that is, the world is a friendly place, and therefore things just tend to go better that way. I love this one. It's very, very comfortable, it's comforting, and it's cozy. My husband tends to agree with me, and he says that this fragrance smells very cozy. I love wearing it, and I never get tired of it because it just makes me feel good. It's a feel-good fragrance. I really recommend you sniff it if you are into the kinds of fragrances that fall within this category, and that would be there are florals, maybe magnolia, jasmine, signature kind of jasmine for Chanel, from Grasse, and then you have the most beautiful, the most crème brûlée or busy kind of vanilla. It's really a feather on your skin kind of vanilla. It's so light yet substantial. It's a contradiction. It's very creamy. There is a citrus that kind of tempers the sweetness, so this is not a sweet fragrance. It's rather elegant, and it does have certain floral undertones that make it very feminine and very smooth. What a lovely find. I really recommend you try to sniff it out because it's just a joy fragrance, at least for me. See if it has the same effect on you. If yes, you will not be able to walk away from it because it's just so very, very beautiful. So that's it for today. Tell me, do you wear these fragrances and what do you think about them? Especially I'm interested in what you think about Allure. Do you have the same reaction to it? Is it as comforting to you as it is to me? Let me know. So that's it for today. See you later. Bye bye.